Well, all right. That was an interesting evening. UFC 269 went down Saturday, December 11th from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. The event was headlined by UFC lightweight champion Charles Oliveira, who defended his gold against interim lightweight champion Dustin Poirier. And Oliveira cashed a plus 120 underdog, submitting Poirier early in the third round. But the actual story of this card, in my opinion, the co-main event saw UFC women's bantamweight champion and, the female GOAT, two-division champion Amanda Nunes losing to Julianna Pena, who picked up the second round submission victory over Amanda Nunes, cashing as the 7-1 underdog. And it was a historic card. And because it was such a historic card, I thought we should do a historic post show with myself, with Liam, and Lucky Locks picks. Follow us on the various social channels below here. And unbelievable night. Liam, what did you think to start off the night? How did you do? And just give me an overview of just a super historic upset with Pena. And one of those things, we didn't talk about that fight at all. It was almost I thought it was going to honestly be a non-event. And then when I got to the betting board, I had some money on the over, and we'll talk about it. But what did you think about the card in general and Pena pulling off the upset?
Yeah, man. I saw something from the UFC right after. It was like, you're going to be asked a lot of times in the future, where were you on this night when, and I was just sitting there in the Buffalo Wild Wings going, are you effing kidding me? I thought it was a little bit of a stunt performance from Amanda Nunes, if I'm being honest with you. I thought that, I had a read going into this fight that Amanda was going to be the better grappler. I kind of thought that was borne out through one round. But what we saw was that Amanda didn't have the greatest cardio, didn't have the greatest preparation. Honestly, the fight IQ left something to be desired tonight as well. Just exchanging really recklessly in the pocket. I thought that the writing was on the wall a little bit in round one. She did not look crisp on the feet at all, in my view. Was walking onto Julianna's punches. Also, just got to give credit. I think Valley Flow striking or wherever she trained for this fight is due for a lot of credit. Her striking has never looked that good on the Pena side. I thought she showed some improvements there. So overall, I was impressed. I did not have money on Pena. Could have been an insanely good night for me, honestly, if Nunes came through, if Nunes' submission came through. Had some degenerate pokes on the submission for both Brazilians in the main event and the co-main event. And so, that would have been a nice way to end out the evening. But either way, man, I thought that it was a great event. I thought it was a great win for Pena. Just got to give her the credit that she called her shot. She won the fight how she was supposed to. I don't think she's a better grappler. I think she just outlasted her opponent here with toughness and heart and durability. So all credit to her, but I'm still not sold on her skill set overall. She's just a dog.
Yeah, just crazy. Overall, how did you do betting wise tonight, Liam?
So got back on track tonight. I was very excited. Plus 8.61 units tonight for me. And, going into that main event, it was, right on the edge. It was like a break-even type of night. And Charles Oliveira came through for me in a big way. So happy to get the big win and back on track and ready to get going again for next week, man.
Cool. Lucky Locks, you haven't been on for a while. Well, I haven't been doing this for a while, but you weren't on last week. So how did you do for this event?
This event I didn't have a huge slate here. I came away with 1.1 units, so not the biggest night ever, but we didn't give anything back and we made a little bit of profit. I'm certainly not going to sit here and complain about a winning night. So I don't have any complaints.
Yeah, I did have a losing night, but the small victories that I can get out of this, because it was almost a bloodbath. But I had the over in the Nunes Pena fight, which came through. Over 1.5 rounds came through. And then I had Oliveira at plus money and the under. So if those, if Oliveira Oliveira didn't win, it would have been a rough night. But yeah, the underdog won half of the fights on the card tonight. If you bet the underdog in every single fight, $100 better would have walked away with $1,007 tonight. So the underdog ends 2021 from a pay-per-view standpoint with big numbers. So yeah, that was basically, there was stoppages in 9 of the 14 fights. And coin flip, there were 7 coin flip fights, so half of the fights on the board saw a favorite of -150 or better, and the dog came through in 5 of those 7 fights. So yeah, the first one though, the favorite didn't come through in this one. Sean O'Malley comes through as the -290 betting favorite. First round TKO over Raleigh and Paiva. O'Malley by TKO cashes at +120, inside the distance +110. The under 2.5 rounds came through at -115, and fight goes the distance no, -150. Lucky Locks, did you have anything on this one? What did you think?
I had nothing on this fight, but I thought O'Malley looked great. I think the guy's for real. I know that a lot of people don't want to hear that. I think his striking is excellent. It's almost like the cliche to say that Sean O'Malley has slick striking. He's so slick. Everybody says that, but it's true. And he lands at a very high percentage. I believe his striking accuracy is like over 60% in the UFC. He's also really damn hard to hit. I mean, he can fight off his back foot pretty well. He's got great footwork, gets to his spots. He likes to keep the distance with that front kick, and just super tall and long for the weight class. I mean, Al, you were saying before off camera that you feel like he might be a little taller than what they list him at, right? So he definitely looks tall. He looks super long. I think he has, pretty underrated jiu-jitsu. We pretty much never see it, but he's a brown belt, I believe. And yeah, Paiva only landed 23% of his strikes in this match. I mean, O'Malley's just a hard guy to hit. I kind of like the guy. I really like to watch him fight. I think a lot of the trolling stuff is actually pretty funny most of the time. People get pretty upset, which kind of makes it even a little bit funnier to me. And yeah, I don't think O'Malley really looked like he was in danger at all in this one. And I think that he is a legit top 15 guy in the most stacked division in the UFC, in my opinion. And I'm not saying he's going to be champ or he's going to wax everybody in the top 10 or anything like that, but I think could he be in the title conversation one day? Absolutely. And the guy clearly is a big draw. I mean, all my friends that don't watch MMA or texted me today, asked me when O'Malley's fighting, they want to watch the fight. So yeah, it was a good fight. It was a good watch. It was entertaining, and I thought O'Malley looked really good, and this sets him up for even more momentum and to do even more in the future. So I'm excited to see kind of who they're going to give him next. Al, I know you mentioned Pedro Munoz off camera, and I think that would be a cool matchup to see, and a lot of different things they could do with him. So I'm interested kind of to see the direction that they choose to go here.
Yeah, I think Munoz is a good one. Liam, I think that this for us, at least for me, is me overrating Paiva and underrating O'Malley. What did you think about this fight, and did you have anything on it?
Yeah, man. So I did end up getting to the window with a Paiva bet for 1 unit, and do I feel good about the bet? No. Do I hate the bet? I honestly would say no. I feel like O'Malley maximized his win condition here. Not to say you couldn't have picked him apart for the whole 15 minutes, but my bet was like predicated on Paiva taking over the fight as it went on. I kind of thought he was going to have a rough first round. O'Malley's very accurate. Paiva is like recklessly come forward in his offense. And I thought that over the course of the fight, that would bother O'Malley. He likes to get off early in his fights and have a lot of success. And I thought that, he just did tonight. And so I didn't get to see, some of the elements of his game I wanted to see tested here. So Paiva is not the right guy, obviously. But I do think that, I'm not going to be sold on O'Malley at a similar price against somebody that could wrestle, somebody that could grapple, somebody that could answer some of these shots on the feet. I think he has had a little bit of a softer run through the UFC. I'm impressed with how he dealt with Paiva tonight. I don't think Paiva's a bad fighter, but he is like a 500 UFC fighter. I just thought that he was like one of the tougher guys that O'Malley had been matched up with. And so O'Malley, shows to me a little bit better power than I thought he was going to have tonight. But outside of that, everything was on point from him. Shot selection was good. Really nice finishing sequence against the cage. So nothing to complain about. But I thought he did a lot of what I knew he could do. I'd like to see more from his game and a little bit later maybe a 3 to 5 round fight from him is important in his development, I think. So let's see what's next for Sean, but impressive win for him.
Yeah, I would say that I've been like a doubter of this guy from the very beginning, and I definitely have to say that tonight kind of skewed those doubts a little bit. But just to be critical of Paiva, he looked off tonight compared to other nights. Him leaving his hands down against a guy like O'Malley just right off the hop is a bad move, because O'Malley was so fast, and then especially straight up the middle. He was eating that jab straight up the middle. And yeah, we talked about it off camera. O'Malley's so tall for the division. He claims to be 5'11", but I think for sure he's 6 feet tall. And I didn't think that Paiva is going to be easily dropped. I thought he was going to have a bit more of a chin on him. I guess that may be more of an indictment of Kyler Phillips. And yeah, I think one thing that we didn't mention, O'Malley definitely has gotten better at finishing once he notices that his opponent is hurt. He wasn't just winging shots. He started changing it up and going to the body and then switching, going straight up the middle underneath. I think really nice performance. I thought Paiva was going to have a little bit more in him, and I was wrong, and it is what it is. If people want to relish over O'Malley, fighting unranked bantamweights on the opening of every pay-per-view, I think that's all right. I'm cool with it because this was entertaining. It was a cool finish, and I think that if we keep, this is how they're doing, like the Bellator route with O'Malley, and I think I think that's a good thing. But yeah, as far as matches go, I would say possibly Song Yadong, and if not, Pedro Munoz might honestly be too much of a step up because he's a top 10 guy right now. Even this loss against Cruz, I think he would still be top 10 at the very least. So I think that might be too much of a step up. I think Song Yadong might be a good one, or you could potentially do Frankie Edgar, but Frankie's had a rough go, so I don't know. Frankie Edgar might want to have a win. Yeah, that one was interesting, but not the as far as the fireworks go and as far as underdogs go, the next fight, Kai Kara-France defeated Cody Garbrandt, first round TKO, cashes on at plus 130 on the money line, plus 340 by TKO. Inside the distance, 3-1 odds. The under 2.5 rounds cashed at minus 110. Fight goes the distance, no, at minus 145. And Lucky Locks, did you have anything on this one? What did you think about this one?
So my initial read on this was Kai Kara-France KO, but I just couldn't get to the window on it, and I wish I did because the fight looked a lot kind of like what I thought it was going to look like. Obviously, I'm not going to gloat. I didn't put my money where my mouth is, so can't brag or anything like that. But I honestly didn't think Cody was a bad bet when the line kept coming down, but I just, I can't lay chalk on Cody Garbrandt, especially in a new weight class and especially in a lower weight class. I don't really think that highly of Kai Kara-France in general. I mean, I don't think he's one of the better guys in the flyweight top 10. I feel like there's a bunch of guys ranked behind him that I would actually pick to beat him. I definitely don't think he should get a title shot after this, but yeah, it was a good performance for him, and he did what he had to do. Definitely, I think it was a good bet for everyone that bet Kai Kara-France here. I think it was a sharp spot. But yeah, tough for Cody, man. Unfortunately, the thing is, if you can't take a punch, you can't win the fight. Everything else just goes out the window if your chin's not there. And he's 1-5, and in his last 6, he's been KO'd 4 times. And I don't really know what's next for him. I mean, he has enough name value to continue on, but who knows? I mean, he's going to kind of have to take a hard look at what he really wants. And I'm sure that the UFC is going to be taking a hard look at what they really want to get out of Cody Garbrandt going forward as well. But good performance for Kai Kara-France. Don't want to take anything away from him there. And good bet for everybody that was on that side.
Yeah, I was definitely on that side. This is one of my very few high spots. And with the win, Kai Kara-France, he improves to 6-2 since coming into the UFC in 2018. And he's only turned a profit of like 1.75 units on the money line in that stretch. So even with this big underdog win, he's come in as a massive favorite in a lot of fights. So yeah, big win. Liam, we talked about this one. I was pretty adamant on it, and What did you think about this one?
Yeah, and so my regret here was that I wasn't in range to legally bet on that line at plus 150 while we were talking about it, because I thought that Kai Kara France at plus 150 was a great spot. By the time I had taped the fight in full and was ready to drive to Jersey, get my bets in, I didn't want to get in when the line movement had already gone so far against me. There had already been a pretty big adjustment on that side. And I saw that they were hanging plus 360, Kai Kara France to win by KO, TKO on FanDuel. So that's where I got involved on this fight. Thought that was a pretty good spot. My prediction going in was Garbrandt to win a decision here. And I thought that if he was able to survive over the course of 15 minutes, he did have faster hands, it looked like to me, but he was getting backed up a lot. His lateral movement wasn't saving him. He couldn't get his back off the fence. And, like Lucky mentioned, if you can't take a punch, you can't win a fight. It's very tough. And so I just felt like it's an auto bet on the KO line for somebody dropping down 10 pounds from 35 to 25. Very hard cut to make, especially – Cody did not look like a small man. And on top of that, if you have durability concerns about somebody, taking a ton of water out of your body is not an answer to a durability problem. It can only exacerbate it. So wanted to get involved on the KO line. My regret is that I didn't go bigger. My regret is that I wasn't, looking at the lines ahead of time and getting involved on that Kai Kara France, money line underdog bet at plus 150. I feel like that was a great spot. Salute everybody who got it, and great read by you as well there, Al.
Yeah, flyweight, this does not happen in flyweight very often. Kai Kara France is just the 12th underdog at flyweight since 2020 to come through, and just the 19th since 2019. And it's for me, I had a feeling this is going to happen just because Cody dropping to flyweight and doing so kind of rushing into it. I thought he should have taken like a year off before moving down. And he looked okay as far as like technique goes. But he even did a good job actually of getting back into the fight after getting dropped the first time. I think that this is equal parts Kai Kara France having just a really good night, that just with precision and accuracy, and Cody's lack of chin dropping down to 125. This was one of the few high points for me. I wish I put more money down on Kai Kara France as I did. I was more staunch just in my word than I was with my wallet and going out on a limb saying he was going to go and get the win. Is Kai Kara France going to get a title shot after this? I don't think so. And I think that that's kind of ridiculous. And also, like Dana White, he said, Kai Kara France said that he won't fight until his next fight is for a title shot. And you never, ever, ever want to say that in the UFC, because if you wait out fights.
He's fighting in Bellator next then. That's
you'll be fighting. Yeah. One thing I will say, DC mentioned Kai Kara France fighting Manel Cape, and first of all, that's just ridiculous because Kai Kara France is, up there in the rankings, and Manel Cape still hasn't. I don't even think he has a win over a ranked fighter in flyweight. So what they should do is feed Cody Garbrandt to Manel Cape, because I think that would be a decent fight, and maybe Manel Cape can get a win. But besides that, I don't really know what Cody Garbrandt's going to do. He's got name value, but he's got to go back up to bantamweight because it's going to be lights out. It's going to be lights out for him if he fights another guy. Like if I feel like if he were to fight a guy like Nicolau or Pantoja or something like that, he would get hurt. And again, I kind of feel like this might be a benefit to fade Kai Kara France in the next fight. What do you think about that, Lucky Locks picks?
I fade Kai Kara France. I'm sold. Let's do it. Like I said, it's just not a guy that I'm high on like at all, to be honest with you. I feel like he's got a pretty good streak of good luck. And I mean, I'll give him credit. He looked great tonight. He had a great night, like as you mentioned. But yeah, going forward, I mean, this guy's ranked number 6 in flyweight, and I just don't personally feel like he's on that level. There's a couple guys ranked behind him that I would feel pretty comfortable backing against him.
Yeah, and he's had some. I recall he was like a minus 300 favorite against Moreno and got stopped by Moreno. What do you think about that, Liam? Do you think, what do you think he's gonna get the title shot next?
No, I don't think he's gonna get the title shot next. I think that it would be an undeserving title shot. This was a good and critical, important win for his career. For Kai Kara-France, obviously the biggest win of his career, and he delivered in a big spot, opening up, he came out the gates on fire, dialed in, ready to win that fight. And so you got to give him a lot of credit there, but you just got to temper expectations a little bit as well. Because Kai Kara-France, he's kind of, I thought it was very predictable, the Royval fight, by example. He kind of just gets a little bit overexcited. And against somebody like Cody, that paid off. It paid dividends today. But he's gotten excited in the same fashion and run into a spinning back elbow and gotten knocked out. Or if not knocked out, he got submitted in that same fight because he was completely rocked. So I just feel like he's liable to make mistakes. Garbrandt just wasn't the guy to make him pay, especially when he was already on shaky legs.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be a good spot to just take advantage of. I feel like people are going to see, the MMA casual bettors are going to see Kai Kara-France get this big win over a name like Cody Garbrandt. So we might be able to get if he were to, fight a top 10 guy, or top 5 guy, someone higher up in the rankings at flyweight, like I said, like a Pantoja or something like that, even an Askar Askarov. I believe maybe those guys have already fought, but I'm all on fading Kai Kara-France, who he definitely had a good showing tonight, but it's kind of like, in this "what have you done for me lately" business of betting, it's always good to kind of go against the narrative like we did here, because I thought, again, I have no idea why Cody Garbrandt was the favorite here. As far as a true betting line, Cody should have been the underdog, right? Like that's just how I feel. But yeah, speaking about having a good showing, Jeff Neal came through as a plus 115 underdog via decision over Santiago Ponzinibbio. He cashed at 6-1 odds to win by decision. Over 2.5 rounds, cashed at plus 105. Fight goes the distance, yes, cashed at plus 150. Neal improves now to 7-2 since his 2017 Dana White's Contender Series debut. He's cashed for 2.35 units on the money line in that stretch. Lucky Locks, did you have anything on this one? What did you think about this fight?
Yeah, I didn't have anything here, but I like Neal before the DWI firearm thing obviously threw me off, but I felt like outside of that, it was a good matchup for him. I mean, he's got a guy that it's not Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He doesn't have the crazy movement, and he's not super hard to hit. And Ponzinibbio does come to bang. And I mean, I just felt like it was kind of a bread and butter kind of fight for Neal. I didn't feel like he was a lock or anything like that. I mean, I felt like there was going to be some heavy exchanges, but in terms of recent matchups for Jeff Neal, I thought that this was a lot better than some of the fights that he's been in recently. I mean, the first round was competitive. I thought Neal landed the heavier and more damaging strikes, and he looked good. I mean, he looked like Jeff Neal there, where he kind of hasn't. He's been a little hesitant in some of his past fights. And second round, I thought Ponzinibbio looked pretty good. He turned up the heat a little bit. And third round, Neal really pulled ahead. That was the best round. He looked great there. I thought that he really turned up the pressure when he needed to, really turned up the volume, and just got even better as the round wore on. And I think that round was probably the best I've seen Jeff Neal look in recent memory. And I'm happy to see him get back on track. A little bit of adversity this week for him as well. So nice to see the guy get a win. Yeah, I'm happy for him. It was a good fight. It was fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like almost as if Jeff Neal was just picking up momentum as the fight was going on, because I feel like Ponzinibbio kind of getting his foot in the door early, and then Jeff Neal kind of answering back to the point where the pendulum kind of swung and he started to take over. Liam, did you have anything on this one? What did you think about this fight?
Yeah, I had a bet on Ponzinibbio that I regretted before fight time had even come to pass. I kind of bought in quick. I heard the narrative. I'm like, DUI. I've already been, making money fading Jeff Neal in the past couple of fights. So I'm like, all right, doesn't seem like he's taking this all that serious. Pons, I didn't think he looked lights out against Paiva, but I thought I saw enough fire there to think that with the skill set, with the style matchup, with some problems on the Neal side, it would be enough for him to get the win. And I also thought Neal was a little bit low volume, a little bit inactive, and that it was going to cost him here if the fight went to decision. So I put a small live hedge play on Neal to win by KO because I was sitting on the play on the Ponzinibbio money line. So I ended up getting nothing instead, which is unfortunate. But also it was a small bet all around, 1.2 units on Ponzinibbio, minus 120. The line wasn't great either. So just all around a regrettable bet for me on an otherwise pretty good slate of bets. But I will say Ponzinibbio tried to fight for my money. He gave an honest account of himself. I thought it looked like an honest pick'em fight, but I'm trying to extract value. I'm not trying to play into even betting markets. And so if you bet on a pick'em at pick'em price, you're not going to win long term. So unfortunate one for me there, and a learning lesson.
Yeah, it looked like I said, Neal was getting the better of the exchanges as the fight went on. But I feel like you just said, Ponzinibbio was doing a good job of getting Neal's timing down early. One thing I want to talk about is Saif Sahoud giving what they were saying was a pep talk in between rounds, and I thought it was just, it looked like it worked, but in my notes at the time, I thought it was just terrible corner work, yelling at his fighter, telling him that he thought that he won the second round, while also yelling at him when he clearly didn't win the second round. And luckily he came out and had a really good third round. And it was clearly what he wanted to hear. Luckily, those guys clearly have a good relationship, but just at that point, it just sounded like, that's probably not the last thing that somebody that has bet on this guy wants to hear his trainer telling him that he thought he won the second round when he clearly did not win that second round. But yeah, Neal turned it around in the third round and started to really get Santiago off of his center and clogging up the lanes and started firing back. He worked that low kick really well in the third round. And yeah, big third round basically won him the fight, especially in the later moments of the fight. Both of these guys, I haven't had good luck betting on Ponzinibbio, and I really haven't had good luck betting on or against Neal. The only thing that was good for me in this fight was I had the over 2.5 rounds cashed at plus money. But besides that, I had Ponzinibbio as well, and I don't even think that he fought a bad fight. It was just pretty frustrating. Jeff Neal showed he just went beyond expectations. Speaking of going beyond expectations, some people have called it, I'm not exactly sure, maybe we can talk about it. They've called it the one of the biggest upsets in UFC history. I feel like I've seen bigger, but Julianna Pena defeats Amanda Nunes, cashes at 7-1 odds via second round submission, rear naked choke. She cashed at plus 2,500 to win by submission, plus 1,650 to win inside the distance. Under 2.5 rounds, cashed at minus 150. Fight goes the distance, no, cashed at minus 400. Pena now improves to 6-2 since her 2013 UFC debut, and she is now the women's bantamweight champion. Unbelievable. I guess as far as women's MMA, it's got to be, one of the biggest upsets in history. Lucky Locks, did you have anything on this one? What did you think about this fight?
I'm just realizing how much my action was on the prelims. I didn't have anything on this one. But yeah, man, I wanted Pena to win. Did I think it was going to happen? Hell no. But here we are, man. I mean, I'm sure I'm not in the minority for thinking that. Personally, I've never been all over the Nunes, like, greatest GOAT, all this stuff. I mean, I've always kind of been of the opinion that Valentina would probably beat her if they, were the same size or even maybe a little closer in size. I mean, the commentary was basically calling Amanda like the greatest athlete on the face of the earth when like she was walking out. I was like, what? But anyways, I won't get into that. My eyes were rolling in the back of my head, but I don't want to come off as one of those guys that's like, oh man, only has like, she just spams the overhand right, blah, blah, blah. Like, obviously she's very, very skilled. But yeah, I mean, Liam kind of alluded to this earlier at the very start of the show. Like, he's kind of saying the writing's on the wall a little bit. I mean, Nunes, like, they're exchanging punches and like, this isn't supposed to happen. I mean, like, Pena's not supposed to be still in there with you banging it out. Nunes, I didn't think she looked all that great on the feet in round one. Obviously got the takedown, good control, clear Nunes round, but round two, Pena just stepped into the fire and really put it on her, like stood in the pocket, banged it out. It was unbelievable. And this honestly was a fight that I wasn't really looking forward to that much, just because I felt like it wasn't going to be a great scrap, but boy, was I wrong. Like, my blood was pumping during that one. I was yelling at my screen for Pena to keep going. I thought it was an awesome performance, and she started landing. Nunes was looking labored. She was looking tired, and she just kind of looked like she was losing hope a little bit. She was feeling like this, this isn't supposed to happen. I'm not supposed to be in this position. And I'd probably still go Amanda if they run it back. I think a couple adjustments and she probably wins this one, and maybe not even anything big, just a little bit, something mental, just a mindset adjustment could be all she needs. But awesome performance from Pena. And obviously I don't want to take anything away. I was happy to see it. I had no money there, so I couldn't really be too upset with the result. And it was honestly really fun. A fight that I didn't think was going to deliver that much ended up being one of the ones that delivered the most for me entertainment wise. So yeah, it was a great fight, I thought.
Yeah, as far as like a fight that I was looking forward to, I had zero expectations of this fight. I thought this fight was going to be a complete non-event, to be completely honest. Yeah. Liam, did you have anything on this? What did you think about this fight?
I think it's Chael Sonnen that says it's not, just a hard fight that's going to get you. If you're ready for a hard fight is just part of the business. But it's the fight that you don't think is going to be hard, that turns out to be hard, that makes you just completely fall apart mentally. And it's a very true phenomenon. And I think on top of that, I think Amanda's done at a competitive standpoint here. Fire didn't seem to be there. Too happy to be there. Big smile on her face, and that's all fine and dandy if it's like a violent smile. If it's like and we're here to hurt people smile. It was like I'm happy to be here smile. And that to me is just the wrong fire for a cage fighter. It's possible that the sting of defeat will bring her back here, but she made it already. She already won. She's done with life, and in a lot of ways, that's my regret in my read on this fight is that shouldn't have had confidence in her to still have any fire in the spot. With that being said, I really don't hate my read on this fight, even retrospectively, which is that I thought Amanda was the better grappler. And so I thought she was going to engage in a lot of grappling here at the behest of Pena and come out on top in those exchanges. I thought, broadly speaking, she was doing that in the first round. But overall, Pena was the one who had better conditioning, who was better prepared, better poised in the moment, ends up getting the finish. It was really impressive stuff. I was at a Buffalo Wild Wings where everybody was going absolutely bananas. And so I was happy for everybody. I'm sure a lot of people made a lot of money on that fight. It didn't cost me a ton of money. I had a couple parlays, crash on that, but it cost me a lot in potential winnings, let's say. But I just thought overall it was kind of a stunt performance and maybe indicates that Amanda's not long for the sport. I think maybe she does the rematch, and if it goes poorly, she rides off into the sunset. And, Julianna Pena, she's going to have the same motivation next time, which is like, you don't really do it until you do it twice. Whereas Amanda's going to come in like, do I really want to even do this anymore? And she beat me up last time. It was pretty embarrassing. Like, I just feel like all the mental aspects of that fight would be wrong for a rematch. But again, let's see what Amanda has to say about it. Got to let this one sink in a little bit. Really devastating result for her, but glorious for Julianna Pena. The thrill and the agony is like the best marketing tool the UFC's ever come up with. It's just the God's honest truth about the fight game. And what a win for Julianna Pena, but I couldn't believe my eyes. I thought that that was a real underperformance from Nunes.
Yeah, it was just unbelievable. I thought it was a huge win for Pena, just surviving on the ground at the very beginning of the fight in the first opening minutes of the first round. She did a good job early of surviving those early submission attempts from Amanda. And I feel like Pena felt her power and was just like, just like how she said in all the promos that she showed, that they showed, other girls are already defeated when they step in there, and they're scared of her, and they're scared of, the myth or, the legend of Amanda Nunes' power. And once you feel that power and you think that you can take it, you just start walking forward. I think that Julianna just started walking forward and just literally started leading with her face. And like I said off camera, she was doing the rope-a-dope, but without the blocking. And she just started answering back and moving forward. And I was super surprised how fast Amanda tapped, and there was no hooks in. And it was just, that was clear that it was just more of exhaustion and more of just like mental defeat and kind of panic. One thing that I will say, there was almost a look of relief on Amanda Nunes' face when Julianna Pena was announced the winner, like almost like she just got all of this off her shoulder. And I remember a similar thing with Deiveson Figueiredo when he lost to Brendan Moreno. And I don't know if that's a similar type thing. I know it's way more to a bigger extent with Amanda, because she was, had a loss in, years and years. But I also think it has to do with the weight cut and being able to be like, I don't have to do this anymore. And now they can't force me to do this anymore. I lost a fight. I dropped the belt. I don't have to do this anymore. One thing I will say, Liam, we saw a huge fluke. We saw a massive fluke with Sergio Pettis over Horiguchi last weekend. Would you consider this to be a fluke? Is this a fluke?
No. And that's the saddest part of it all, dude. It wasn't even a fluke, I don't think. I think that, if they run this match back again, yeah, I would have to bet on Julianna. She's an underdog going into the next fight. And the reason being is simple. Like, I felt like it looked like the Jan Blachowicz result as well, where somebody just concedes and like mentally shows that sign of defeat. I don't like to see that from a fighter. I thought it was like a really concerning sign from Amanda. No fight on the choke. Think about Michael Bisping and George St. Pierre. Michael Bisping goes to sleep, fighting the hands, blood trickling out of his face. That's the guy I want to bet on. And by the way, that's late stage Michael Bisping. So it's like there's certain fighters that are going to give everything they have for it, and there's certain fighters that simply won't. And Amanda showed me tonight that when she's got things going well, she's an absolute hammer. But when it starts to go poorly, even for, 3 minutes, she could just check out mentally from the fight. So yeah, it can't bet on Amanda at Big Chalk anymore. Unless she's fighting a new opponent, then I'll reconsider. But not against this girl. This girl is an effing marauder who's not afraid of her own physical health and safety. I do think she still makes the same mistakes in the grappling. My read on this fight was she was going to put her head in the hole on a guillotine and get submitted. And that was pretty close to playing out in the first round. But Amanda didn't seem like she's going to push a grappling heavy game plan. She didn't come back out and shoot relentless takedowns in round 2 to get it back to a positive position. She's instead swanging and banging on the feet like it was her first day in the gym. It was insane.
Yeah. You reminded me of something, and I noticed this with boxing, and I noticed it even more with MMA. When underdogs win and they have a rematch, and the the fighter who won is the underdog again, that mostly always goes to the underdog the second time. I know with Moreno it was similar to that. Tyson Fury similar to that. I don't know what it is, but most all the time when these underdogs come in, at least I guess with both of those that I just said, there was the draw in the first fight. But Lucky Locks, I'll ask you, is this a fluke?
No, I'm gonna have to agree with Liam. I really don't think it is. I mean, this wasn't like Amanda was just absolutely pounding the piss out of her, and then she just lands a crazy spinning back fist like we saw Sergio Pettis do. Like this was like, I mean, yeah, Amanda, she just didn't like it. She got some resistance and really didn't like it. And it's obviously going to make, I think, all of us pretty cautious about placing another wager on her, especially. I think they put out odds, like just future event odds for this rematch, I guess, should it ever get booked. And Amanda Nunes was minus 250. I mean, I'm not lining up to bang that line. That's for sure.
I saw minus 300.
Yeah, so even worse.
Yeah, that reminds me of something. I wanted to mention this. The broadcast, at the top of the broadcast, giving out a chalk parlay, O'Malley, Nunes, Poirier. And that stuff is so bothering to me. I just don't advertise. I mean, it's all good to, have personal parlays and stuff like that and go for those long shots, but don't advertise stupid bets like that. Even if it wins, it's just bad business. Like, you're going to lose money more times than not. And they're just like, bet this parlay. And then they show, not to mention, the guy who lost $336,000 tonight betting on Amanda Nunes, and they kick off the broadcast, a bet that they advertised at the top of the pay-per-view. Just ridiculous stuff. And not even him, but the real loser of tonight, Kayla Harrison, because it looked like they were trying to set up, this super fight between Harrison and Nunes, and now that's completely out the window. Now that fight has zero value, in my opinion. And literally, like, Jermaine Durandamine, who's likely going to retire, has a win over the current champion, Julianna Pena. So the UFC bantamweight division has just gone completely crazy. Liam, as far as Nunes and Pena, do you have any final thoughts on this before we move on to the main event?
I was going to say, just for Kayla Harrison's purposes, I think this actually is like kind of a perfect outcome for her. Obviously, misses out on the opportunity for the massive fight, like you mentioned. However, Amanda's a friend, a training partner, so now she gets to avoid that roadblock. Julianna Pena, in my opinion, very winnable fight for Kayla Harrison. And then if she is able to win the title, I feel like the UFC would love to promote the next dominant champion that they could find for 35. So I think that it's much more likely somebody like Kayla Harrison could fill that role than somebody like Julianna Pena. I think if Julianna doesn't fight Amanda in her next fight and she is favored heavily, I will be considering a bet on the other side for sure. But I will also acknowledge, like, I did see notable striking improvements from Julianna Pena. And I think those, I'm curious to see who all's training there, because they've been turning out some pretty damn good fighters, in my opinion. Chicago, stand up, baby.
Yeah. I will say this loss tonight, though, I feel like makes us way more closer now to Harrison versus Cyborg than we ever were, because now there's more of an incentive of they can book that and market that as like, who is the true featherweight GOAT, even though Amanda lost at bantamweight. But another thing that they could do, and I heard they asked Julianna this twice, they could do another super fight and try to make Julianna 2-division champion while doing it, and have Julianna move up to featherweight, and challenge Amanda in the rematch at 145. I know she doesn't really have the frame for that. Lucky Locks, do you have any final thoughts before we move to the main event?
I mean, I guess just to piggyback on Kayla Harrison, I mean, I was locked and loaded and ready to fire on Kayla Harrison as an underdog if that Nunes fight ever got made. So I was a little bit bummed that it's a lot less likely to happen now. And if it does happen, I don't think the line will be quite as tilted as I was hoping it would be for that one. So, maybe we get it down the line, but we definitely won't get as good of a number on Kayla as we probably would have if Amanda came through here.
Yeah, and like Liam said, I guess, as far as money making goes, Kayla lost tonight, but, she definitely now has, she's now still undefeated, and Amanda has been knocked off her throne. So, there really is no reason for those two to fight now. They can definitely, build up for Pena Harrison, which I think would be a wash, to be completely honest. But crazier things have happened, as as evident as that is at UFC 269. So who knows? This just makes things. This is just wild. This is similar to Andy Ruiz winning the heavyweight championship. This is just wild stuff. And I don't think, I gotta say, I had not that much interest. I had really no interest in this fight coming into it, but I gotta say, if they do fight again, I will be, very interested in this rematch. And this is the type of thing that the UFC likes. If Nunes can come back and bounce back from this and recapture the gold, it's good for them. And even if she loses, then you have an absolute superstar in Julianna Pena, who knocked off Amanda Nunes twice. So it's really win-win for the UFC for this one. All right, so that brings us to the main event, and the main event was just unbelievable fight. My personal pound for pound fighter right now versus my all-time favorite fighter, and Charles Oliveira taking on Dustin Poirier. Oliveira gets it done. A submission victory, rear naked choke, cashing at plus 120 on the money line. 3-1 odds to win by submission, plus 187 to win inside the distance. The under 2.5 rounds cash at minus 110. Fight goes the distance, no. Which took, it looked like the yes took a ton of money, because this fight goes the distance no opened at like minus 400 and it closed at minus 260. So fight goes the distance no was actually a pretty valuable bet. And with the win, Oliveira now improves to 10-0 since 2018, and $100 better, who is back to Bronx on the inside the distance prop in that stretch, has turned a profit of $828. Lucky Locks, what did you have on this one? And tell me what you thought about it.
So finally, I can say I did have something on this one. I had actually over 1.5 in this fight. This opened on Betway at minus 138. I just thought that the price was a little weird. It was like minus 180 other places. So took a stab on that. I mean, with the way that we've seen these fights in the main events, the 5-rounders hit the over lately, I thought, we could probably trickle over 1.5 rounds, and I was happy to get that one there. But yeah, man, what a fight. I mean, I feel like almost everyone in the community was on Charles as the dog here, and not often does the dog come through when it's like everybody's on that same play. So that was kind of cool to see. And round one, I mean, Poirier was strong. The guy's big at 155. He hits really hard. There actually wasn't a huge disparity in volume between the two in that round, but obviously the heavier shots coming from Poirier, the knockdown, of course. And yeah, like if I was a bookmaker in between rounds, I probably would have had Poirier favor going into the next one. But little did Dustin know that you're actually supposed to knock Charles down in round one. That's basically his secret to success. He just comes back and beats you later in the fight. But yeah, Charles recovered really well. I thought he did well to kind of pull Dustin into the clinch, pull him close, and minimize any excess damage when he started getting hit really hard. Clearly he didn't really care that much about getting hit hard early. I was like, holy crap, he's really going for it here. But yeah, you just knew Charles wasn't out of it after round one. He comes back, really dominates the second round, basically had control time for the whole entire thing. And round three, man, you just know Dustin's going to give up the back at some point. And that's the thing with Charles. Like, at least once he's going to get at just a dangerous, really good position. And if you can get out of it, then it's probably going to be a little easier for the rest of the fight. But he really only needs that one chance most of the time. And that's all he needed this time. And I feel for Dustin, man. It's a tough loss for him, but I'm really happy to see Charles win. It's a fighter that I really like. The fighter that I wanted to see win, I'll be honest, I wasn't even really on the Charles train for this one. I kind of thought Poirier was rightfully like a slight favorite, but I just I obviously didn't want to lay any chalk here in this one, because you lay chalk against Oliveira and you get burned. That's just the way it works. And I did kind of want to see Charles win just as a fan as well. But yeah, really good fight, man. It definitely delivered for the last pay-per-view of the year, and made money on it. So I can't complain. It was a really good fight, and yeah, it was awesome event, awesome way to cap off the year.
Yeah, I was completely content. Me and Liam did a video last weekend, and I said, I can't call who wins, and I picked on my Tapology before. And I'm a massive fan as a fighter, as a person, just in general. But he, you like I said, and watch, we might never get that kind of price that we got tonight on Charles Oliveira. So yeah, Liam, what did you have? What did you think about this one?
Yeah, man, this was the John Anik likes to say the fight around which the athlete around which the fight card was built. And for me, the athlete around which my betting slate was built tonight was Charles Oliveira. Biggest bet of the card for me, 2.5 units on the money line. Charles Oliveira at plus 140 and plus 145 respectively. So was able to beat some closing lines there. Additionally, locked in 1 unit on the inside the distance at plus 210. Also beat some closing line there. And Charles Oliveira by sub, plus 310. Only regret was that I didn't go deeper on this play. I kind of thought that, Charles might knock him out here. And I thought that he was going to be committed to trying to do so. So I was a little bit scared, but the fight kind of played out similar to my expectations. I thought that basically the game script was going to be exactly what happened on a little bit faster of a timetable. I thought Charles was going to get the sub with the rear naked choke in round 2, ends up having to fight his way into the 3rd round. But I thought that Charles rounds 1, 2, 3 on the prop market was good as well. I thought that was a lot of where his win condition was tied up. I still think it's possible Poirier could have worked his way into that fight and even snuck out a win. If he was able to survive till round 4, kind of like in the Hooker fight where he wins, the late rounds to come back. I feel like that was on the table here, but Charles is just too dangerous, man. And he had more paths to win this fight. He's more dangerous in every position. In fact, if you look at their careers historically, it's Charles Oliveira who's gotten more knockdowns for strikes landed than Dustin Poirier, in fact. So it's like this guy in every way is lethal. And I've always rated his submission grappling as being one of the most underlooked tools in the sport, and I went back, my analysis said the same thing. This guy has been at crazy plus money tags to win inside the distance, to win by submission. And most recently, his KO lines have been like plus 900, plus 800, plus 650, whatever it is. And he's cashing them at those ridiculous plus numbers as well. So this guy has just been a prop better's dream. I think that fight doesn't go the distance. One of the best bets on the card here. I was very grateful. I cashed a parlay tonight on fights not to go the distance. It was only a quarter unit shot, or maybe a half unit shot. And it was Nunes and Pena, Charles and Dustin, Priscilla and Jillian, and Bruno and Jordan Wright. All those fights not to go the distance. And so that was 0.5 units paid out at plus 240. And I just thought that as parlay pieces this week, fights not to go in the main and co-main were like no-brainers for me. I also thought that Bruno Silva by KO, the odds makers were too hip to it. So you just got to look for parlay pieces, or like I did, I played some Bruno rounds 1 and 2. So I felt like the way to target this fight was from a prop perspective, largely speaking. I felt like both fighters' most likely path to win was inside the distance here. I thought that it was Poirier who would probably take over late based on cardio considerations if it was to make it there. But I really felt like both these guys, natural finishers, and they get finished when they lose. So just struck me as a fight doesn't go pretty clearly.
Yeah, as far as Oliveira goes, I'm just trying to pull up the tweet here. I tweeted it out. He's just been an absolute monster. $100 better who is back to Bronx on the inside the distance prop across his last 10 fights, $828. You're up. And then I don't have the number in front of me, but if I remember, oh yeah, I do have it. $100 better who's backed Oliveira on the inside the distance prop over the last 10 years, dating back to 2012, is up $1,185 with something ridiculous like an 18 and I think it was like 18 and now it's 19-5 or something like that, or 19-4. Crazy. Just, when he wins by stoppage, except for when he when he annihilates Tony Ferguson, when he 30-26 Tony Ferguson. But yeah, what I'll say about this fight, I thought Dustin looked to be hitting him hard really early, but it looked a lot worse than it was. And the broadcast made a very rare good point about the optics, the way that it looks way worse when Oliveira gets hurt. But when Oliveira hits Poirier, it's not exactly the same. Poirier absorbs damage a lot better as far as, through the eyes of the judges. Now, with that said, if there was ever a question about Charles Oliveira's chin, he answered it by going toe-to-toe with, Dustin Poirier, something that Conor McGregor really couldn't do. Oliveira is really good at utilizing elbows and knees in close to get out of danger when Poirier was, starting to close in the pocket, and Poirier was landing big, but Charles was kind of just leaning on going to those knees, that jumping knee and those swinging elbows. And then Poirier is a really good closer, but Charles was just doing a really good job of clogging up the lanes and answering back. And it seemed like it was all Dustin after one, but Oliveira did a really good job of just answering back in the second round. I don't know what was up with that. I don't know what was up with that closed guard in the second round. While Oliveira was just slashing him with elbows, it seemed like Poirier talked about it in the post fight. He said he didn't want to take a chance of getting caught trying to get back up, so he was just sitting in the closed guard. I don't know if that was a good call. And then I feel like the fight really started to turn at that point, and Poirier was just sitting in guard, closed with that leg triangle, and I don't understand. I just don't understand what that was about. And yeah, just an unbelievable bounce back win for Oliveira. I know he did it in the third round, but I feel like he kind of turned around in the second round, and just these second rounds he's had now. This great second round against Poirier, great second round against Chandler. He absolutely annihilated Tony Ferguson. It feels like this guy has gone like, as far as points goes, 50-44 in his last 5 second rounds. Last thing I'll say, but before I throw it to you guys, it's almost as if Oliveira is walking into the fire now intentionally, just to show people, just to show his doubters, the ones that question him if he could take a punch or if he would wilt under pressure, if to show them that they're wrong. And he loves walking into the fire. And I feel like since he's made that choice to walk into the fire, that's when it's changed. Kind of like with that Kevin Lee fight, it kind of he changed when he decided, like, I can take these punches. And that just brings me to my next point. I'll get your opinion on it. It's super intriguing. We saw Oliveira was able to last against Chandler. We saw what Gaethje was able to do to Chandler, but not put him away. That makes for an interesting narrative. I'll put you guys on the spot with Lucky Locks first. Who do you got? First take on Oliveira versus Chandler, or sorry, Oliveira versus Gaethje.
I got to go Oliveira there. I mean, the thing about Gaethje, I mean, you brought it up. I mean, Gaethje had 3 rounds with Chandler, couldn't put him away, and Oliveira iced him in the second round early. So Not that is necessarily indicative of success in the next fight, but I mean, I know it's a Khabib, right? When we're talking about Gaethje and the grappling thing, but he really just didn't look good down there. And I just feel like he's going to get hit hard again early like this. But like I said, man, Charles gets at least once a fight. He gets a really dangerous position where he's really good. And I feel less confident in Gaethje being able to get out of it than I did with Dustin Poirier. So I feel like if Charles just gets that one back take, or maybe he gets mount at some point, I just feel like it's going to be over. And I think Charles probably finishes Gaethje too. That would be my lean.
Yeah. Liam, what do you think?
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to rotogrinders.com. I'm going to take the preview article that I wrote for this one. I'm going to hit copy, and then I'm going to hit paste, and then I'm going to bet all the same units on Charles Oliveira. If he's an underdog, we're going fucking sizzler, boys, because Justin Gaethje, for all the great things that he does, he can win that fight, but he's a very big public darling, and I was not impressed by his grappling in the Khabib fight. I could leave it there to be mild. I think that Charles is levels above him on the grappling front. And I think that the reason Chandler had difficulties grappling to success with Justin Gaethje is because he was already compromised. He doesn't have the right body type for it. And he has a very traditional American style of wrestling, which is the same case for Justin Gaethje. I think that the grappling transitions we saw tonight out of Oliveira are exactly what he will need to do. Taking the back is critical, but I do think that Gaethje is going to find himself flummoxed by what to do. He's very comfortable, very adept, student of the striking game. I think he's just going to get exposed by somebody who's a world-class grappler in Charles Oliveira.
Yeah, that's another fight that there is not a chance in reality that fight goes the distance. There is no way that Oliveira Gaethje goes the distance. Someone is getting finished in that one. I feel like Oliveira versus Khabib. If the MMA gods could bless us, there is still a very slight chance, a 1% chance that could still happen. But it won't. It likely won't. But yeah, Oliveira Gaethje will go exactly like Khabib Gaethje went, in my opinion. I feel like, though, with that said, I feel like Oliveira is a better striker than Khabib, and Gaethje had a lot of success beating up Khabib's leg in that fight. That won't happen. I got to go with Gaethje. I got to go with Oliveira, and I will be absolutely stunned, and I'll be pleasantly stunned if Oliveira comes in as the underdog in that matchup. Because is he just going to be the underdog in every fight as the champion?
I hope so. Al Mack, from your lips to God's ears, brother. Let's keep doing it. Do it again, guys. Let's get another narrative about how he's going to quit in the next one, or he got hurt in this one, so he's going to die in the next one. Okay.
Yeah. One more thing before we move on to the look ahead. I just want to get your opinion, Liam, because you got credentials in this. First of all, I didn't. They mentioned the thing about pulling his glove. Poirier said that he didn't feel Oliveira pulling his glove. Lucky Locks, did you see anything with that? Did you think that Oliveira was pulling Poirier's glove?
I mean, I heard them talking about that, but I didn't notice it really when I was watching live. I mean, maybe if I watched it back and really paid attention, I would have seen. But yeah, it didn't really come to my attention when I was watching the fight live.
Liam, what did you think?
I also did not see this while I was watching live. Also, it was kind of a blessing in disguise. I didn't have the commentary very loudly available to me, so I got to make my own impressions of these fights. So yeah, I didn't actually see that. I'll go back and revisit it. If he did, it's a dirty, rotten cage fight, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Somebody got eye gouged earlier in the night. People aren't here to make friends and warm people's feelings.
Yeah, and like typical Dustin Poirier, he was just like, no, I didn't feel it. Like he just straight up denied that he would have done it. One other thing I wanted to ask your opinion, Liam, before we move on. What was up? You're able to speak on this better than I am. What do you think was up with Poirier sticking in, sitting in guard with Oliveira in the second round?
Yeah, that was a pre-fight decision, in my opinion, from the camp, which is a shame on them, honestly. I don't think that's a great strategy, but I think they just know their guy. Dustin gets discouraged when he encounters failure, like in the octagon. And I don't mean like adversity, right? He's fine with I hit you, you hit me. It's when he can't get things going. It's when he starts to experience like real noticeable failure. I try and get out, I can't. I try and do this, I can't. You could see it like drain the enthusiasm from his face. And I thought that the Khabib fight was a perfect analog for what we would see here. And to avoid that, their strategy was we get put in a bad spot, we do nothing, we concede the round. And the problem is any momentum that he had in round one, he completely let it, like the air out of a bag, just gone, lost all his momentum and let Charles get a lot of it. So then Charles is like a house on fire coming out in round three. Like I just, was easily able to take this guy down and work from his guard. I told people in the advance of this fight, I thought Charles was going to win the fight inside the distance. I thought he'd win it early. I thought he'd win it by submission. But I said it's not outside the realm that Charles wins this fight by decision. And I thought everybody else was saying so. But it's because I saw the Tony Ferguson performance where he just soundly out-grappled a guy who's supposed to be a decent enough wrestler and moved from control position to control position effortlessly. I thought here he was gonna encounter more resistance, right? I thought Poirier was gonna make him work, try and get back to his feet. Yeah. And that if Charles then didn't have the ability to hold on to him, then he might be fucked. But instead he decides I'll do nothing. Okay, well, that was a bad strategy, and that was borne out pretty clearly. It gets dominated. I thought it was a 10-8 round. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but again, I was watching live round two, biased as shit with Charles tickets in my pockets going, this guy didn't do anything the whole round. He just got his face beat in from the bottom position. Like I didn't see much resistance at all or anything constituting meaningful offense from Dustin in that round until a couple of elbows from his back with like 10 seconds left. I was like, not enough. Just baffling, bad decision.
Yeah, it was very perplexing. Like someone, who I think is one of the best fighters, one of the best lightweights of all time, in my opinion. It was just like, what are you doing? Locks, any final thoughts on the main event before we move on?
Yeah, I think we pretty much covered all the angles.
Yeah.
I just would say awesome fight, awesome last pay-per-view of the year, and it was the main event was good to a lot of people betting wise, so can't complain.
Yeah. So really quickly, we'll hit these these two fights in the look ahead. We'll get through them quickly, so we're not here for another hour. So Francis Ngannou taking on Cyril Gane for the UFC heavyweight. Actually, it's champion versus champion. Cyril Gane is the interim heavyweight champion taking on Francis Ngannou. Interesting fight. Lucky Locks, give me your initial take on this fight.
I've gone back and forth on this one so many times, man. When you told me we were going to talk about this one, I was like, they're going to make me say something out loud here. But I'm really, really, really looking forward to this one, actually. As soon as this got announced, I was super pumped to see this. And I mean, Cyril Gane is like, it's pretty much a pick 'em, but I feel like Gane is slightly favored, I want to say, in a lot of places. I haven't looked at the line, just recently.
Flip-flop
back and forth.
You can get pretty much plus money on both sides right now.
Yeah, so I mean, if you are able to get plus money on Francis Ngannou, it kind of feels wrong to do so. But I mean, I'm hard pressed to go against Gane in this spot, just because I mean, he lands more strikes, he's more accurate. I feel like his striking defense is a little bit better. I feel like he's a little more mobile. And obviously, I mean, Francis could just come out here and wax this guy, but I keep going back to like, if he doesn't do that, like, is he going to be able to beat Gane down the stretch in the fight? And basically, that's kind of where my lean comes in. I'm not looking to lay chalk on either side here. If I am going to bet Cyril Gane, I would probably be targeting maybe that like 4-5 decision prop. I feel like this is one where if it does get into those rounds, it's definitely going to favor Gane. But I mean, we've been seeing really good improvements out of Ngannou. I mean, last fight against Stipe, I thought he looked great. I thought he looked much improved. So I just think this is going to be a banger fight. I got to slightly go with Cyril Gane in this one, though, for my initial lean.
Yeah, I agree. So the way that I see it right now, Cyril Gane is sitting at plus 100 at FanDuel, and and Francis Ngannou is sitting at minus 102 at Bet Online. So you can almost get plus money on both sides. Liam, what do you think about this fight?
Yeah, man. This is a tricky fight as far as I'm concerned. I think that, Francis has been good to me historically, right? I feel like I've done a decent enough job getting on and getting off the train at the right time. Had a small Stipe bet the first time, had a small Francis bet the second time, and had some Francis round 1 and 2 action as well there. So, man, this is a little different, though. I think that it's one thing to beat an aging Stipe, whom I love and have great respect for. Ohio, stand up. But I think that this is, a different kind of challenge. Cyril Gane knows Francis in and out, trained together for years. Important factor in my view. It's one thing, we talked about it's the intimidation factor. It's the mythos that goes into a dominant champion like Amanda Nunes that shakes her opponents before she gets in there. It's the dominating, scary power of Francis Ngannou. When you slip on a banana peel and one punch changes everything at heavyweight, that is the reason why so many guys are broken before they get in there. They're shaking in the back, hearing this guy hit the pads. And for better or for worse, Cyril Gane looks cool as a cucumber every time he steps in the cage. He's like, happy to be here, whatever. Just, I guess I got to beat this guy up now. And then just casually drop somebody a million shots from the outside without getting touched. And you're like, did that just happen? I bet him against Derek Lewis, bet him inside the distance there, regret not going bigger in retrospect. I just think this guy has got a lot of upside, a lot to like, less people aware of him at this point. I think there's a reason that he's not coming in as the favorite here outright, which is that, people want to put some respect on the power of Francis here after, last time he shut everybody up. I will just say, I thought that Stipe had very credible moments against Francis in both fights. But in the second fight, he looked too small to make things happen, and his wrestling was very ineffective, just couldn't get anything physically going against this guy. I think Gane is going to be, able to match him a little bit physically, if not in the power department, in the grappling. And there's a grappling path for Cyril Gane that I don't think people are talking about here. He could hop on the back and submit this guy. Francis has obviously been working in the United States, so I'm sure he's improving at a pretty fast pace. But he's like 34, 35. I'd have to double, don't kill me if I got that wrong. Maybe he's 33. He's not a young man by any means.
I think
Cyril Gane is a little younger, I believe. So I think that Cyril's making improvements here.
Ngannou is, I believe, 37.
Yeah, remember? Liam, shoot yourself in the foot. I thought I was going too old. Yeah, he's freaking older than dirt.
Is he actually 37 years old?
I believe so, yeah. Because remember we said last week that Francis Ngannou is older than Jose Aldo.
Dude,
holy shit.
What? You're blowing my mind right now. I actually don't know how, but I did not know that.
35, it says on Wikipedia, September 5th, 1986. Jesus.
Okay, there you go.
He's still older than Aldo, so yeah.
Yeah, I got to be honest, man. That FanDuel plus 100 is looking a little appealing. I hope that people don't beat me to the punch here like they did on Kai Kara France last week, but I'm keep my eye on that.
Yeah, I'll say this, and I feel like this is the way that I normally break down fights. So this is kind of just like showing you how the sausage is made type thing. So Francis Ngannou, he's 11-2 since coming into the UFC. He's turned 6.9 units if you flat bet him on the money line in that stretch. He's turned all 11 of his wins inside the distance. He's turned 9 units profit on the inside the distance prop with an 11-2 record. However, those 2 losses are both by decision. You've made more money betting with just 2 wins and 11 losses. You've made more money betting against Francis Ngannou every single one of his fights to win by decision on his opponent, to win by decision, than you would have if you bet every single one of his fights on the inside the distance prop. 9.5 units because Derek Lewis and Stipe have. You look at Cyril Gane, he's 7-0 in the UFC since coming in 2019. 3 of those 7 wins are by decision. 6 of Cyril Gane's 7 wins, 6 of his 7 fights have gone over the betting total. Francis Ngannou, I don't think he has a chance of winning this fight by decision. Cyril Gane has a chance of winning this fight either by decision or inside the distance. So I think Cyril Gane is the bet to make. And if you want to get creative, and every time I say to do something like this, it's incorrect. But if you want to do something like this, you could do it. Ngannou inside the distance right now is like plus 115. You know, you can get, if Gane ends up staying at plus money, you know, you can get Francis Ngannou inside the distance at plus 115, Cyril Gane at plus money if you wanted to, you know, have some action on this fight and win either way. But yeah, I think Gane wins this fight. Any final thoughts on this one before we move to the co-main, Lucky Locks?
No, yeah, I think we pretty much covered it. I think between the 3 of us, we pretty much covered all the bases.
All right, so the co-main event, and I gotta say, this is a super treat and just a really intriguing matchup that we get to see now for the 3rd time. Brendan Moreno defends his UFC men's light flyweight championship against Davison Figueiredo. Liam, I'll let you go ahead with this one. Do you have any thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, I do, as a matter of fact. You know, this isn't a fight I've looked into in depth, and so it's potential that I'll change my mind a little bit as we get closer to fight time. But, you know, last time the outcome sort of swayed my opinion on this fight. I was a Figueiredo believer, and I felt like the holes in his game have been exposed a little bit by Moreno. I think Moreno's got better pace. I think he's got better cardio. I think he's a better grappler. I think he's a better scrambler in the wrestling. And if you match better scrambling with pace and cardio, that means you can extend the scrambles for longer. So if you're doing poorly in the scramble, no problem. Just keep it going. And I think that the longer he's able to do that, the more Figgy is going to gas. That being said, you know, wholesale lifestyle changes from Figueiredo here. Moved camp, training with Henry Cejudo, probably on a gang of designer steroids. And I appreciate that about him. That's probably going to be a factor in the fight. I just think he's too big for the weight. You know, I think it's kind of like a Cody Garbrandt situation here. I think he's going to feel the impact of Moreno's strikes. I think in addition, Moreno's fast. He's getting better. You know, he's got a lot of big opportunities ahead of him if he can close this chapter of his career and put Figueiredo in the past. And I think Figueiredo still has life at the bantamweight division after he loses this fight. I just think, you know, he's kind of making a mistake here and being bullheaded about wanting this rematch. You know, ask and you shall receive. I think he's going to get beat by Brandon Moreno inside the distance once again. And if not, I think Brandon Moreno still could outpoint him to a decision here, as he proved in the first fight, keeping it close.
Locks, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, this is an interesting fight. And I mean, I should disclose that, you know, I'm not a big fan of too many fighters, but I am a Davison Figueiredo fan. You know, I like the guy. I felt like he won the first fight. I mean, I'm not the only Figueiredo fan that, you know, I'm a fan. Of course, I'm going to say that. Some people agree with me. Some people don't. It is what it is. It was definitely close. But I did feel like he won. And I didn't play him in the second fight, though, because there's just something about it that just gave me a bit of a funny feeling. And, you know, lo and behold, Figueiredo looked not like himself at all in that fight. And I was just kind of like, you know, what the hell was that? I didn't have any money on it. And that performance makes me really nervous about playing him again. And I'm not honestly sold on Brandon Moreno. I feel like I might even take Pantoja to beat him, which he already has. I might take Askarov to beat him if they were to make that fight. But it's more just like, I mean, like Liam said, Figueiredo is huge for this weight. And I mean, if that's what he's going to look like after this cut, what he looked like last time, I mean, I'm not confident in betting him at all. And I feel like I would probably have to go with Moreno for an early prediction here. Be hoping for Davison, of course. But yeah, I mean, his time at 125 just might be done because I mean, what the hell was that last time? It didn't look like him at all. I don't know who that was, but didn't look like Davison to me. I feel like on his best day, he definitely could beat Moreno. And I feel like on his best day, he could beat anybody, but it just doesn't look like we're going to get too many of those good days at the 125-pound division anymore for Davison. So that is kind of pushing me over to the Moreno side. It's not really that I like Moreno that much. It's just that I don't know how much life Davison has left at 125.
Yeah. I got a lot to say here. I was, going back to even before this channel with odds.com and even before that, like from the very beginning of Davison Figueiredo getting into the UFC, I was a huge believer of this guy. And at one point when he first picked up the belt, when he picked up the belt with the win the second time over Benavidez, I feel like at that point he was the best flyweight on earth. And I think that includes Adriano Moraes over at One Championship. And I thought somebody like, Horiguchi coming down to flyweight or any of those guys, I thought Ryzen, One Championship, whatever, anybody who could get down to 125, I thought he was the best guy. I thought that he won the first fight against Brandon Moreno. And then the thing was, I thought when the second fight, when the odds came out, I was very confused because I was like, how is he still such a big favorite when the fight was so close? And I know that there was the narrative of, well, he was sick and he had a hard time cutting weight. And my reply then was, well, how do we know that it's not going to happen again? And it almost did happen again. Figueiredo had to take the extra like 30 minutes to make weight when they met the last time. So I'll say it again. How do we know that he's not going to have issues cutting weight again? And I know that he's had a ton of lifestyle changes and moving to a different camp and stuff like that, but he's still Davison Figueiredo. He's not going to, it doesn't matter if you change your camp, you can't change your body. And that dude probably walks around at like 175 pounds and cuts down to 125. And he is absolutely jacked. He could probably fight at featherweight if he wanted to, if he wasn't so short. And yeah, it's tough. And now it's so interesting. This fight really also, it reminds me, I made the comparison earlier. It reminds me of, even with the draw, it reminds me of Wilder and Fury, because the first fight, Figueiredo comes in as a big, like minus 290 favorite. They draw. They go again to the rematch. Figueiredo's a big favorite again. Moreno wins. And now it's completely flipped in the trilogy fight with Moreno now a minus 165 favorite and Davison Figueiredo now the underdog. I got to say it's tough to bet against my guy, Davison Figueiredo, especially at plus money. This might almost be a pass for me because unless I can get Moreno, it's hard. I don't know. I have to break this one down a little bit more because I want to bet Moreno inside the distance, but I wouldn't be shocked if this one was much more similar to the first fight where it was just a drag out war that went 5 rounds. That is on the assumption that Figueiredo is going to look healthy and be able to make weight and, not have food poisoning or, dehydration poisoning or something like that. This is a type of fight where you have to look at the weigh-in. You have to look at fight week. You have to look at you have to look at the factors outside of the cage. You got to look at all these non-tangible factors in this fight because it's hard, a month out to have a staunch opinion because so much can change, especially with these flyweights. Yeah, I love the guy. I think Figueiredo at one point was one of the best flyweights on earth, if not the best flyweight on earth. But this might be the downward spiral, and it's hard to pass on him at plus money. But I would hate to do that and him just get starched again. So yeah, that's how I feel about that one. Liam, any final thoughts about that one?
Yeah, I just feel like from a confidence standpoint, it's going all the wrong way for Figueiredo here. The first time they have a draw, it's close enough. You can make an excuse. There's a this and a that going into it. And so they come out for a clean rematch. That's the idea. And Moreno has a lot more confidence, it looked like, than the first fight. And he shows up, performs admirably, able to get the finish victory. Is he going to be less confident now? Like, he's going to be much more confident now. He knows he could beat him. He knows he can go 25 minutes with him. He knows he's not afraid of the power like everybody else is. And so unless he gets hurt by a big shot, I feel like this is going to be a fight where Moreno is able to take it over as the fight goes on. Figgy, when he's at his best, is throwing a lot of like committed, heavy, high impact offensive maneuvers that tax the body of energy. And I think especially making all the lifestyle changes and everything with Henry Cejudo and those guys, I feel like the only way they can do that to change his body is going to have to dig into some of that muscle, going to have to dig into some of that power base. And then what are we left with? Are we going to turn him into a volume guy? It's possible that he could still land that big cracking power shot. I'd want to see it to believe it. He's looking like 88% of himself right now. If you look at his Instagram, it's kind of crazy, man. He looks like a different person physically. So that could be a good thing. It's just like, I kind of want to see it. He looks very thin. I'm worried about one of these effing leg breaks, man. Like, honestly, just looks like it looks a little unnatural, man.
Yeah, the thing that he did so well, Figueiredo, was the threat of his power. Like, if you go and look at the Benavidez fight, he hits him once and then he just starts walking forward, and Benavidez is just retreating, and Figueiredo is just coming forward, and it's the threat of the power that is so much more of an offensive tool. Moreno's now felt that power for more than two separate fights, a full 5-round fight, and then the fight that he won. He's felt that power. So unless something has changed, I would say advantage Moreno there. And then if Figueiredo's doing something to change, to take away a little bit of that power, then I got to go more advantage Moreno. Locks, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, just to tie it up, there's just a lot of question marks around Deiveson Figueiredo coming into this one. I feel like we kind of know what Brandon Moreno is going to look like. Like Liam said, he is going to be confident. He is going to come out there and know that he can compete and that he can win. And Deiveson Figueiredo, he looked pretty good in the first fight. When he was sick, he should have got sick again for the second fight because he looked horrible in it. And if he looks like that again and I have money on him, I am not going to forgive myself. So this is more than likely going to be a pass for me because there's just too many question marks for me. And maybe once we get closer to fight night, I'll have a better read. But right now, it's just like, I believe Deiveson is better on his best day, but I just don't know if we're going to see that.
Yeah. Yeah. This, again, I stand by it. And I've said this the last time that they fought. This is, you cannot bet this fight on a look ahead. So I'm going to advocating for everybody that's watching this video for doing exactly that. You can't do that. You have to watch fight. You have to, and I never like to watch fight interviews, media interviews. At least, I like to watch them for content purposes, but not for my betting purposes. I don't take in anything that a fighter says during fight week, but how they look, how they sound, just their mindset, that's different. And with Figueiredo in this fight, I think you got to look at how he looks on Wednesday media day, Thursday press conference, and the weigh-ins on Friday, because I feel like that helped me last time, because that's what got me off Figueiredo in the rematch and on Moreno. But I'll say this just to close on this, because the perfect thing to happen here, this is my opinion, Figueiredo loses, moves up to bantamweight and fights Cody Garbrandt at 135 pounds. What do you guys think about that? Liam.
I know who I'd be betting in that fight, and it's not Cody Garbrandt.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid matchup. Locks, what do you think?
Dude, I'd love to see that fight. I mean, they obviously were talking about doing it. Did it get booked and then Cody got COVID, or were they just talking about it and then he got
Oh yeah, I completely forgot about that.
I really wanted to see it, man. And I'd love to see it now because I feel like my guy Davison would probably be able to get it done. So I'd like to see that one for sure. And I'd probably pick Figueiredo, more of a fade on Garbrandt, but I don't know. Both guys haven't looked great recently, so who knows what could happen. But yeah, I'd probably lean towards Davison there. Healthier weight cut.
The problem is they're both cutting. Well, I mean, at least with Cody now recently and Figueiredo the whole time. Although I do feel like Figueiredo has fought. I don't know if he's fought at 135 before. I know that he's fought at 125 and missed weight by like 4.5 pounds. So almost 135, but not quite. But yeah, I feel like I feel like Figueiredo is the type of guy where he's wasting his career fighting at 125 now, because I feel like if he moves up to 135, as long as it's matchup specific and isn't fighting a 6-foot guy like Sean O'Malley, he could have a lot of success, because I feel like his power is going to move up. Like I said, he's probably walking around 175 pounds. But anyways, that is, we actually, we got a solid, that's a solid month away. So that'll be fun to look forward to. We got a couple of events beforehand. We got one more next week, which is Derek Lewis and Chris Daukaus, which is going to be basically the precursor for Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley next Saturday, which should be just a complete freak show. But yeah, we'll be here. I'll be here. And thank you guys, Liam, Lucky Locks Picks. Follow them on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. There's the handles there. Please like and subscribe the video. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to these gentlemen's channels. The links are in the description. Hit up CombatOdds.ca. I got the results for this event, and we'll be wrapping up 2021 with all the betting trends for UFC for 2021. All right, guys. Any parting words before we take off for this UFC 269 post show? Liam.
Absolutely. Just want to say thank you very much, Al. Had a great time. I always talk about the fact that I'm fired up when I watch these fights. I'm not in a rush to go to bed either way. So always like coming on here, shooting the breeze, talking about these fights, giving a little bit of a look ahead as well. So I'm excited about the upcoming matchups. I'm still fired up about all the great action I just took in, and I'm excited to get right back to work. That's the motto for me. If you ever are interested in my work, I write preview articles for Roto Grinders. That's 2 weeks in a row. We hit the main event underdog with the receipts for why I thought it was going to happen. Did call Charles Oliveira by sub, so proud of that. Picks for me on a premium basis are done at Scores and Odds. I also give away my plays for free on YouTube. And I also talk about my bets right before fight time on Twitter at Liam Picks Fight. So you can find me on all platforms, trying to give out good and free information, trying to give out winning plays, and also trying to bring on smart people to my show to share their information as well, to try and make you a smarter, better. So hope everybody had a good time with this conversation tonight. I know I certainly did. And I'm always learning from these conversations. So appreciate you two smart gentlemen, and look forward to speaking with you guys in the future.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely appreciate it. It's 4:38 Eastern time in the morning right now, and I know that it's even later for Locks. So I appreciate you guys coming on. Lucky Locks, any parting words before we get out of here?
Yeah, man. 5:38 out here on in beautiful Nova Scotia on this fine morning. So couldn't ask for a better two gentlemen to share it with. Really enjoyed my time being on here. Lots of great fights to discuss, and yeah, as always, man, it's a pleasure to be on, and I'm always happy to get on here and talk some fights.
All right. Well, the pleasure is all mine, and I'm not exactly sure what the deal is for next Saturday, but at some point there will be a show on YouTube in between Saturday night and Sunday morning, breaking down the freak show fight of Woodley Paul 2, as well as the UFC Vegas 45. So, yeah, basically that's it. Thank you very much for coming along. Super fun. And yeah, I'm honestly not going to be able to sleep after that. I'm going to probably go back and watch the fights again like I normally do while putting in some work. So yeah, gonna ingest some content into this nice Sunday morning. Again, thank you, Liam. Thank you, Locks. Very much appreciated. Hit them up on Twitter, social media, YouTube, and yeah, I'll see you again next Saturday. Talk to you later, guys.